Hello, I'm David Carey, a longtime resident of San Mateo County. I'm also a board member of Californians for Electoral Reform, a nonpartisan, nonprofit, statewide organization that is dedicated to improving how voters are represented in government. I want to share with you a few things about Measure B that most politicians aren't ready to talk about, regardless of whether they are for or against Measure B. As a voter in a representative democracy, you have a right to representation. You have a right to choose your county supervisor, someone who will represent you, someone who will vigorously advocate for your interests and opinions. Unfortunately, neither the current at-large elections for county supervisor nor the district elections proposed by Measure B give voters adequate representation. Measure B is not the change we need. Changing from at-large elections to district elections is a distraction that only moves us from one bad option to another. Both district elections and the current at-large elections are exclusionary by design. Both systems can leave about half of us without our chosen representative. Both systems insulate incumbents from competition. Both systems undermine majority rule. Both systems will give us a board of supervisors that is much less diverse than the county is. San Mateo County is so politically diverse that it is impossible for one person to represent all of the voters in the county. Even the districts are so politically diverse that it is impossible for one person to represent all the voters in a district, to vigorously advocate for each and every voter in a district. Does every voter in District 3 agree on how the county should be run? Were the boundaries of District 2 somehow magically drawn to only include voters with the same opinions and preferences? Of course not. How can someone claim to represent an entire district when they only have to get about half the votes? It is impossible. Anyone who says they can do it is not talking about real representation. Voters cannot be truly represented by someone who disagrees with them on important issues. The California State Legislature and Congress both use district elections, and they have very low approval ratings with voters. Why the dysfunction? Much of the problem can be traced to the fundamental failure of single winner, winner-take-all elections in giving voters real representation. San Mateo County should not follow that path. You would not be satisfied going to a restaurant that got your order wrong half the time, did not correct the problem, but still made you pay the bill. Do not be satisfied with elections that perform that poorly either. District elections allow incumbents and the courts to gerrymander voting districts, manipulating which voters get representation. That robs voters of their rightful decision-making power. Voters should choose their county supervisors, not the other way around. Your ability to choose should not be compromised by artificial geographic boundaries or by institutionalized racial and ethnic stereotypes. San Mateo County has been sued for conducting illegal elections, for violating the California Voting Rights Act. Those are serious allegations. Similar allegations have been validated by courts in other counties. We should not be sweeping those problems under the rug. Our self-governance would benefit from a complete and fair examination of those issues. But Measure B will prevent that from happening. As a way to enhance voting rights, district elections are coarse, stopgap interventions. Using the sledgehammer of district elections to stop voting rights abuses may have been appropriate in Mississippi in the 1960s and 70s. But San Mateo County needs and deserves something better today. Instead, we should be looking for 21st century solutions that better ensure voting rights, that empower all voters with universal voting rights. Elections should be about you choosing the person that will represent you. Elections should not be about deciding whether or not you get representation. A truly representative democracy requires representation for all. A much fairer way to elect county supervisors would ensure that any group of like-minded voters comprising 1/5 of the voters would elect one of the 5 county supervisors. Multi-winner, ranked choice voting, also known as choice voting, is a good way to do that. Such proportional representation ensures voting rights much better than district elections can. California voters prefer proportional representation. It works in other communities, such as Cambridge, Massachusetts. It can work in San Mateo County. If county supervisors had acted when the 2009 civil grand jury alerted the county to voting rights problems, we could have had proportional representation for 2012. Instead, there is a good chance we will get district elections in the short term, regardless of whether Measure B passes or fails. Voter-approved district elections will only delay the change we need. To learn more about the failures of district elections, about Measure B, and about representation for all, visit on the web at www.repforall.org. Vote no on Measure B. Thank you.